Hello, Seawhite's 89. Unsolved Mysteries. I finished watching the first season, or the first 6 episodes. There's some talk that they're going to be doing episodes later, that this is not all, but you never know. People say stuff, you never know if it's true or accurate. Okay, I was supposed to watch it yesterday, and by the time I got to watch it, it was very late, and I was rugged up in a blanket, sitting there in the cold at night, trying to make it creepy and atmospheric, and started watching it, and I was really disappointed. It just starts off. The first episode just starts off with just a person talking about something that happened to a loved one, and there's no atmosphere, there's no introduction, there's no tone. It's just very flat and basic and just normal documentary style. It could just be any Netflix documentary. Then the theme comes on, and it does feel a bit like Unsolved Mysteries for a minute. And at the end, under the titles, they actually have a image of Robert Stack, which is nice. But there's no host. There were no reenactments. Now, I complained about this everywhere. And a few people said there were reenactments. They're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, no. I've watched all the episodes now, and there are a few. They did obviously get some actors or people or volunteers or someone, and film a few random scenes here and there for each episode, but they're not really reenactments of the crimes or the situations that are being reported or explored or they're trying to work out, and they don't really tell a story. They don't really involve the actors. It's just like shots where you just sort of see bodies of people talking and there's no faces, or you just see hands doing things, or there are a few cases where they went back to the locations and they sort of restaged the places to look sort of like they did at the time when they were being investigated by police and things like that. They did little things like that, but the shots just feel like cutaways, or what is it called when you're just like filming just an insert, just something just to put in, and it's not really the main sort of scene or drama, or it's just something to cut away to, just something to have on the screen while people are talking. I don't really consider them reenactments. They did do a little bit of filming. It's not just straight interviews, and some of it did take a little bit of effort, but it just isn't. It's just the form. Just nothing resembles, except for the theme song, theme music. Nothing resembles Unsolved Mysteries. There's no separate segments. There's no host. The reenactments, as I said, are just incredibly abstract and basic and simple, and very much just inserts and not really anything. So I was very disappointed on that level, because I mean, you can't reboot a show and change the whole format, everything about it, and then put the name of that show on it and say, yes, this is the continuing of that show, of that legacy. It just doesn't work. So it's very disappointing. Now, the stories aren't bad, the interviews aren't bad, the documentaries themselves aren't bad. They're just really basic crime documentary drama, docudrama. They're just not Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm not one of those people who's like only like wants to be stuck in the 80s and like back with Robert Stack. I mean, I know he's passed away. Dennis Farina, they repackaged the show and they had him do the introductions anew, and that was fine. I liked him. It wasn't the same, but it was still Unsolved Mysteries. This isn't Unsolved Mysteries. Now, the episodes is only 6, and as I said, I've heard some rumours that they're going to release more later, and that this is not the whole season, but other people are saying it's the whole season. They're just doing 6 episodes, so 6 stories. Is roughly 45 minutes to an hour for each episode. Each episode is one story, and some are really thin and kind of slow and a bit dull. Others, there's quite a lot to tell in the story, so it doesn't feel kind of stretched. So I really think it should just vary on the story length. If the story doesn't really warrant a whole hour, then do 2 in an hour, or something like that. So The first story is about what was it called? The first story was called Mystery on the Rooftop. That's right. It's a supposed suicide of a man, and it's really just his widow, um, the wife of the man who died, just telling her side of the story and just exploring this interesting story because it is, a mystery. You're not sure exactly what happened. The second episode is called 13 Minutes. It's about a lady who was a beautician or hairdresser or whatever, I can't remember. And she disappears. No one knows why. The third one I didn't watch initially because it's all in French. It's about a family that went missing. It's called House of Terror. It was a notorious story back in the day in this French city, and they just went to France and filmed French people talking in French, and the whole thing is subtitled. I'm like, oh, in this day and age, can we not have dubs so people who don't have the time to sit and watch every frame so they don't miss any of the text and miss any of the subtitles? I had to do it while I was on my exercise bike because I could stay still long enough to watch it. Because when I watch shows, I'm normally doing other things. I don't have the time to sit and just look at the TV for an hour. I need to basically listen to most of it and I just watch parts of it, which means I'm often rewinding stuff that I've missed. So I eventually got around to watching that, and that was the one that I noticed more so than the first two. They actually put a little bit of effort into recreating some of the story where they actually had police and people dressed up like they sort of restaged the scene where the bodies were found in this house, and there were, like I said, little insert shots like people sleeping because they were supposedly killed when they were asleep, and they just sort of showed people sleeping in their beds, just simple little shots like that aren't really a reenactment, don't really tell a story. They did that. The fourth story was the one that was most moving. It was about it was called No Ride Home? Yeah, No Ride Home. I can't read my own writing. I don't know why I write notes. I can never read it. I don't know why I just don't write it on my computer so I can read it. I can never read my own handwriting. It's about a guy called Alfonso. See, I can't even read his last name. Alfonso. I can't read it. Starts with B. I feel so disrespectful. It's very sad. They interview the mother, and she's still got his. It looks like his room is still like it was. It was 15 years ago. She's got his jacket. She's wearing it. She's got all the stuff that was found on him. She seems really stuck in the moment of his death, and it's really sad. That happens to a lot of people where they don't get past what's happened. And basically, black guy went with a bunch of white guys to a party with a bunch of white guys in some scary little redneck town down the south. And I know I shouldn't be bad-mouthing the South. They're not all like that, but apparently some girl was interested in him and some white guy didn't like it. It seemed to be racially motivated, but they suspect it was a hate crime. But I thought at first they said this guy had a go at him and called him the N-word, but he did seem to get in. Some guy did get in his face, and they had a disagreement, an argument or something. But someone suggested that could have been said, or if it had said, how he would have reacted. And I thought they said it was said. So it's unclear, but it does look that way, and it's pretty sad. Basically, and it's of course strange. They couldn't find him; he just disappeared. They found his boots because he always wore boots, and his hat. And then a month later, after many police searches, the family does a search, and they find his body just laying in an area that had been searched several times. No explanation, and it was basically put down as just not a murder. Like it was just, yeah. So that was ridiculous. Obviously, you don't show up a month later with levels of decomposition which don't really match having been out in a lake or a river for a month, and with your shoes off, which have been obviously thrown in another area. So obviously something happened to this guy, and it's just so sad seeing them have a talk about him, and it was really kind of heartbreaking, because these are real people talking about, this is not reality TV where it's all heightened and just creating drama, and it's not fiction. It's just real people talking about their stories and wanting resolution so they can actually move on with their lives. That was the one I probably thought was the best. Um, Now the next one was UFO Berkshire. No, UFO Berkshire's UFO. See, I can't read my own writing. God, I'm so sorry. Thank God nobody watches this shit. Um, and the story was really interesting. There was a whole bunch of people experienced a UFO in this area and were abducted. And it's quite compelling and quite complicated. And this is one of the ones that really fills the whole hour because they tell a whole bunch of people separate stories of the same incident. And the only issue is the effects are so minimal. Basically, it's just someone shining a torch at the camera just off the side of um, the shot, sort of with someone looking through a car window or something, or looking over their shoulder, or just to try and make it look like there's some mysterious light out there. They don't actually put in the money to create a UFO or any strong images. It's just people talking, and you just see blurry shots of light lens flares flashing into the camera, and that's all you get, and it looks really cheap. I'm going to go back and watch some of the UFO episodes from segments from the original show and watch how it's really done. Um, with actual TV budget, production, which at the time they didn't spend a lot of money and they still managed to do more than Netflix has. It's really disappointing. They must have spent no money on this show at all. I even thought for a minute they might have just taken some other crime show and just repackaged it and just put the Unsolved Mysteries theme song, theme music, and the soundtrack, just rescored it, and that's it, and then just release it as Unsolved Mysteries. It seemed kind of like that. I really don't know. And the last story was kind of it's just about a mother who basically seemed to kill her boyfriend, or ex. Was it a husband or boyfriend? She killed a guy that she was seeing, and then her daughter eventually, she got a daughter to help her with it. The daughter eventually disappeared as well, and now she's raising the son of the daughter that she apparently killed to protect herself from being exposed for killing the guy. And that's just sad to see. Just the idea that a mother would do that. That was pretty horrific. And the only good thing about the only good thing about it all ending was the last credit sequence. The music went all the way to the end, because I don't know about you guys, but whenever I watch Netflix, the credits always end before they're finished, especially with the music, and it always cuts off abruptly. And I love the Unsolved Mysteries theme. I turned it up every time it was on. It's the only good thing about the shows. I mean, like I said, the stories are interesting. They're well produced. They're just not Unsolved Mysteries. I watch a lot of crime shows. They're all the same format, same style, and it's like they're afraid to actually make Unsolved Mysteries and do. I see this a lot whenever they're recreating or rebooting something that is iconic or legendary or great or beloved. They look at it as like lame, like, oh, we don't want to have like, oh, some creepy host talking, or mysterious music, and we don't want to do reenactments that look really like like lame or something. Like we'll just have people talking. Like, they just strip everything back and make it really basic and simple, because they don't want to challenge anyone to actually think or have to experience something. They just want to make it same as everything else that's produced. Just make it same as all the other documentaries, so people watch it and they're not like they've got nothing to react to. Like, we don't want anyone to react or anything, because they might actually. It's so weird. It's like all the superhero films where the superheroes don't have costumes, and they're all everything's grey and bland and dark, and there's no strong score or bright colours or anything, because they're just so scared of creating any experience, trying to create any experience, any artistic effort in any of these shows. And Unsolved Mysteries, unfortunately, now has joined that group of I don't know what to call it. It's like I'm putting together a thesis in my head of what this is or something. But it's just a syndrome I'm seeing in so many movies and TV series where they just have to remove whatever made the show special or unique or interesting and reduce it to the most generic level, just so it appeals to everyone. You know, because you wouldn't want to make it specific or unique or special because that might make people actually appreciate it or something. I don't understand what the hell they're thinking. But Unsolved Mysteries now, unfortunately, has joined that group. But, I'm going to go. I'm going to leave it there. It's not I didn't enjoy it. It's just it wasn't Unsolved Mysteries. It didn't give me anything unique or interesting or specific to that show that I'm used to. So it was okay. Part of me kind of likes the fact that even in name it's still continuing. But I just hope they look at the criticism, because I'm not the only person saying this, and they actually make some effort with the next season or for later shows to give it that special Unsolved Mysteries touch. Even if they're afraid to put a host in because no one can compete with Robert Stack, I get that. But at least try and keep the stories still structured the same, even if there isn't a host, and the style and that. Because otherwise, I just don't get the point in doing it. It's like, I'm just going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks, bye.